Okay, we're back again. Um, I wanted to go back to the very first book, Metaphysics of Being. I realized that I had this on a different um, YouTube channel, so I wanted to go back and just kind of summarize this book again. And I'll just start by reading the first um, chapter here because this kind of sets the foundation of all of metaphysics, in my opinion. Metaphysics of Being. God and absolute being understood as the relationship between one, infinity, and nothing. Nothing precedes the beginning of time. Whether you say that time has always existed or that time started at some point, it is preceded by nothing. What came before the Big Bang? Nothing. What came before the infinite eternity of time? Nothing. The answer is the same. This is not mere semantics, but an actual fact of nature. Nothing precedes the totality of space. If you say that space goes on forever, it is limited by nothing. If you say that space is limited, it is preceded by nothing. Again, the answer is the same. Therefore, the totality of space-time is limited by nothing, whether you consider it itself limited or unlimited. Nothing encapsulates the totality of everything externally. More amazing than this, however, is the fact that nothing encapsulates something internally as well. Euclid stated that the most fundamental unit of a line is a dimensionless point. Therefore, something comes from nothing. This is at the foundation of mathematics and fundamental to the way of the world. It is the source of many contradictions and a great paradox. Um, so Euclid, who in his Elements came up with um, his first axiom was a point is that which has no extension. So pretty much that is the foundation of all of metaphysics, in my opinion. If you consider again the a point is that which has no extension as our basic axiom in mathematics, it leads to an unbelievable paradox. First of all, we are describing a point here, which is that which has no extension, so that's a nothing. If you then talk about a line, it's made up of points. So a line which is something with extension, and that's conceivable within the real world, at its foundation, it's made up of points, which are a series of nothings. So this is the great paradox illusion that is prevalent in our universe and our existence and our mathematics and our logic. So going back to this again, and we've talked about this a million times, I know, but we think everything is discrete. If we say this is the totality of the universe, and this is the something in here, this is the something in here, then this is where we are conceiving, and this is the world that we conceive of discretely. Outside of this, it's bounded by nothing. And even if you consider this, whether, well, science has proven that this is a discrete entity. Our universe is a discrete entity. We know it started at the Big Bang. That's what started space and time, which really is the foundation of the reality that we live in and experience everyday life. So we know this is a discrete unit. This is proven, the entire universe. But even if you said this was unlimited and that this expands forever, it's still bounded by nothing. So here's that play on words of nothing. Whether you believe this is limited and bounded by nothing, or whether you say it's unlimited, it's still bound by nothing. So nothing has this dual meaning to it. Um, in one instance, meaning literally nothing, and in another instance, almost meaning a something, nothing being a something. So this is just this play on words that we just keep going round and round with. Um, and it's all based on this fundamental unit of a point is that which has no extension. In our universe, we know that we view everything discretely, and in 1900 this was proved by Max Planck, and we say that there's 10 to the power of 127 bits in the entire universe. We need a smallish unit so that we can conceive of our reality and describe reality. If I was going to describe the universe in an infinite way, there would be no circle here. It would just be a blank page. It would be a nothingness. But for us to talk about anything, experience anything, we need to talk in a discrete way. So a lot of this evolves around Zeno's paradoxes and this first axiom by Euclid. Again, how does a line become something if its foundation is built on nothing? And this then, after lines, goes to spheres and so forth. All of it at its core is built on nothing. And this ties back to Principia Mathematica. Bertrand Russell tried to build a foundation of all of mathematics. But when you get to the very bottom, there's no explanation for the very first axiom. And whether you apply this to mathematics or existence or being or whatever, if this is a timeline here, if this very first fundamental unit, whether this is God, first cause, Big Bang, or whatever, and time is going this way, out here is this nothingness that we can't explain. So we know the world that we live in is this discrete unit. It has a beginning, it will have an end, and all along the way there's all these discrete experiences of space-time that we experience, and whether this is arbitrary or accidental or is Goldilocks or whatever, just it has to be this perfect, this unique way. And I don't want to use the word perfect because in this universe it's imperfect. We have evil, we have suffering, we have death, we have babies dying in fires. You can chop my arm off, you can stick a needle in my eye. There's all kinds of tragedies of cancer and diabetes and suffering and people being hit by trains and all kinds of evil and suffering that occur in this limited, imperfect world. Plato talked about this, that in theory there is this platonic world outside of this where all of these shapes and ideas can exist in a perfect realm, but we're living in this imperfect realm. And there's a lot of philosophical, metaphysical implications to all of this as it relates to truth. We live in a world that we say, okay, the sun's going to rise in the morning and I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do whatever I do all day and I'm going to come home and I'm going to go to bed. And all of these are discrete activities, and that's the world that we live in, and we try to make it as enjoyable as possible and exciting as possible and so forth. But at the foundation of all of this, the totality of this entire universe, it's sitting in this void of nothingness. And that is the big mystery of life. Uh, why is there existence? Why is there anything at all? And you can never get at this conception of God or ultimate definition of reality at its foundation. There's no way to ever um, approach that, and this is proved by Zeno's paradoxes, infinite regress. You can't ever get to your destination of a non-moving object. You can't get to catch a slower moving object due to infinite regress. We do in our real world that we live in, but logically, none of it could ever happen. If you had a timeline here, and this is a finite set, it's within it there's an infinite amount of members. So um, that's in itself a paradox, a play on words. Finite set, infinite amount of members. So it's both finite and infinite. When you ask, what is the first step on a number line? In our reality, it's, let's say, Planck time, third Planck time, fourth Planck time, or 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. We live in this discrete reality. So we are, if we say our first step is here, in effect, we've jumped over an infinite amount of reality in there. And that's just the way we live. We jump on all these discrete units, and we jump over all of the little infinities along the way. And we just say, these infinities in between here are insignificant. They have no bearing on the world in which we live. Well, ontology and metaphysics and Zen Buddhism and Eastern religions and even science is in the back of their minds fascinated by, well, what is in between all of these discrete units? So another way to depict it is if I had just a series of circles here. Here's a space-time unit, then there's another space-time unit, and all the way through. And these are all the units, the allowable units, similar to the stadium paradox of Zeno. These are all the allowable units that we live in. Well, then the question becomes, what's in between these allowable units? If here's space-time unit number 1 and 2, what's in between 1 and 2? Again, it's nothing. So then the question is, how do you ever have a transition from 1 to 2? Here we have on perception, and then we have on perception 2, the second one. But in between this, there's this blank nothingness. And so in our world, just like a cinema movie has to put together the entire movie by still shots, we see it as a moving movie, and that's similar to how we are viewing reality. But at its foundation, it's a still non-moving entity. And Julian Barber talked a lot about this. These discrete non-moving entities, and this is another paradox, Zeno's paradox, the arrow paradox, in which how does a moving arrow, if you took one moment of time of that moving arrow, it is stationary. So this play on words again is that you have stationary units making up what we think is continuous movement. So there's this illusion all around us, and it has no bearing on our day-to-day lives. We wake up and we go to work and we do our jobs and we make money and do things, and all of these events, space-time events, occur. But it's at its foundation extremely different than we think it is at this macro level. And quantum mechanics has proved this as well, that at the foundation a lot of strange things happen. There's just this quantum mystery to the entire universe. On this number line, if you were asked, what is the first step on a number line? Well, in our reality, we would just say, well, it's this first Planck time unit. Well, in mathematics, it's 1 over infinity. 1 over infinity is nothing. This drops down into the abyss of nothingness. So how is there ever a first step, a concrete, discrete first step in existence? It has to land on some platform, a discrete platform, somewhere above infinity. So we're just landing on all these discrete units here. But again, at this foundation below it, there's this nothingness. So we're just like floating on air in a sense. So going back to truth again, we say, our truth is, here's the laws of gravity, here's the laws of existence, here I drop this pen, it's going to drop on the table. Those are the laws, those are the truths that we live by. But given that at the foundation there's a nothingness, it leads to the theory that there is no ultimate truth to the universe. There is no one overriding truth to the universe. So it's almost like a John Wheeler law without law at its very foundation. Now again, this has no bearing on the day-to-day lives that we're living currently, but can it have a bearing possibly in the future when we start getting into quantum computing and quantum realities and maybe in a many worlds interpretation of where rules and laws are completely different than the way we're conceiving of them now. So in a way, this is an insane thing that you're out of your mind to even think something like this. But maybe in 1,000 years, when we understand reality in a completely different way, all of these principles of this nothingness at the foundation and infinity and different laws may apply, and this might just be like amoeba level thinking, the way we're living today, and it'll just be a completely different realm. So I keep using this word nothingness, and when you talk about God has an infinite nature to him or it or whatever, and indescribable. And I think it has something to do with this paradox of nothing and infinity being one. They merge. So there's an infinite nature to God, but there's also a nothingness to God, that it's indescribable in discrete ways. So this is just facts again, and if you just sit down and think about this, it's really an amazing thing. So what does that all mean? The world, again, that we're living in is this discrete unit, and there's evil and suffering in here. And if you really dig into that, you come up with the realization that God cannot be an all-perfect, all-loving being. Because why would a perfect being create limited, imperfect beings that suffer horrific diseases, insanity, death, all of the tragedies that occur in life? Why would a perfect being create an imperfect universe? That makes no sense at all. So again, it goes to either this grand accident type theory, that just this is the way the universe is just because it's just an accident. There is no ultimate meaning to it other than the meaning that we give to it, but just coming into being, having a life, either significant or insignificant, in your own perception. It's only significant to you and your families. And then you die, and it's just done for all of eternity. So all of that is really amazing. So it goes back to, again, this idea that you need to live life, that every moment, every day is a sacrament. Do something fantastic every single day of your life, because it's going to be gone and done, um, at some point when you die. So the more you can focus on beauty and love and fantastic things every single day, um, that's what makes life enjoyable and have meaning. Um, and it's the only, as Leo Buscaglia stated, love is the only solution to human existence because of all of this evil and suffering that is all around us. So it can just keep going on and on and on about all of these paradoxes and what it all means. It doesn't mean anything other than the meaning that you give it on a daily basis. Um, People get mad when you talk about what is this death, this nothingness. You were nothing before you were born, and you're going to be a nothing again after you die. That is the ultimate truth. If there is um, possibly a truth to the universe, it's that fact that you are nothing here and you're going to be nothing on the end. That overrides everything else. So you have this temporal and temporary existence blip in the immensity of infinity and of the universe that is what is your real world. So you may as well make that as phenomenal, as enjoyable as you can within it. So that's just an introduction to metaphysics of being, and we'll stop there.